Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. It is Thursday afternoon. It is almost 2 o'clock. It's 10 to 2. And I'm about to start some Shabbos cooking, and I decided, let me bring you guys along. I was not planning to do this. I recorded a video yesterday, and I usually don't like recording one after the other. But the reason why I decided to pull up my camera and start recording is because I am going to be making a dessert. I'm going to try something new the first time today, and I figured, why not bring you guys along? It's a multi-step process, and in between I'll do some Shabbos cooking as well. So if you're interested, come and join me, and let's see. Let me show you my menu for this week. So I already started my sourdough right here. I already added the salt. I just did my first stretch and fold, and I don't think I set a timer. I like doing the first 4 on a timer every 30 minutes. I did it maybe 10 minutes ago. Okay. We're going to make some dips that we're going to enjoy with the bread. I already have some challah that I like to make every few weeks. I have that in the freezer, so I don't have to make challah. But I will be making tahini, tomato dip, hummus, a jalapeno garlic confit, and some olive dip. I'm going to make a sesame salmon, which if you've seen my last Shabbos cooking video, you have seen it. But the main reason why I'm bringing you guys, why I pulled out the camera, was because I will be making a praline ice cream, which I didn't write down over here. I believe I found on kosher.com. I will link recipes for you in the description box below. And it estimates the time to make this as 2 hours, 30 minutes, because it's a multi-step process and you have to let things cool down or freeze or whatever in between steps. So first thing we're going to do is preheat the oven to 350. So I always make sure that I have nothing inside, which I do have some cookie sheets in here right now. We're going to preheat that. So the recipe actually says to get ready to have 2 baking sheets. One we're going to line with parchment paper and set aside. One we're going to line with parchment paper, and you're going to place 6 ounces of ground almonds or filberts on it. Now I have both of them in my pantry that I'm trying to use up ingredients. If you've seen the video where I went through my pantries and my freezer, you should know that I have those ingredients that I'm looking to use up anyways, and that's where the idea of this ice cream came from. So if I don't have enough of one, I'll do a combination of both nuts. So let me turn you guys around so you can see the countertop and see what we're doing and how we're prepping for this. Okay, so I have my cookie sheet here. We're going to line it with some parchment paper. I'm actually going to line both of my cookie sheets. No, the second one was cut smaller. I think I'll need the bigger one for the next step, so I'll swap it. Now I'm going to get my scale out. And by the way, guys, my organized drawers, it's been a pleasure to have them like this. And I don't think I showed you guys, but what I did was that I printed out pictures of what they're supposed to look like, and I tacked them inside my drawer so that whoever is putting away clean dishes knows where things belong, and it's been a pleasure for everyone. So I'm turning my scale on. I'm going to put a bowl on. I'm going to set it to ounces, and I'm going to get my nuts out. So we're going to start off with ground filberts, because I love the flavor of the filberts in any dessert. Let's see how much we have. Not even 2 ounces. Ooh, this was a total of 6 ounces. Okay, we're going to have to do almonds as well. I don't think this will be enough. And these are ones that I crushed myself, that I ground myself, so some of it is bigger. 3.4. I think I'll do half a recipe. I'll try to remove some of the bigger chunks, and we're going to do half a recipe. It feels like nothing else is coming out, or very slowly at least, and we're at 2.5. So I'm going to put in a bit more of the chunkier pieces till we get to 3. Perfect. half a recipe it is. And I think in order not to forget that I'm doing half a recipe, because it's a multi-step process, I'm going to write down the ingredients on a paper with half the amounts that I would need. So I'm going to set this aside until it turns off. Thinking actually, I have more almonds, and the recipe called for 16 ounces of whip, and I got a big 16-ounce container of whip, and I don't want to waste that. So I think I'll grind up some more almonds, and we're going to use this. We're going to make a full recipe. 6 ounces. We're going to lay it down on the cookie sheet here. Going to get it as flat as possible. Let me read the instructions. We're going to toast this for 5 minutes in a 350-degree oven. I'm going to give this bowl a quick rinse so that we can use it later on for the dips and salads that we're making. Okay, this will now be waiting here for us for when we need it. Okay, now let's see what the next step is. I think the next step is on the stove top. Water and sugar into a small pot and set over medium-low heat. We're going to make like a caramel. And then we have to get that to 338 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not stir the sugar, but watch it carefully. When it reaches the desired temperature, stir in the toasted nuts. So let's move over to the stovetop. So we have a pot here. We're going to measure out 3 cups of sugar. It's going to make a lot. But this will be the main flavoring for the ice cream, plus the topping. And a 1/4 cup of water here. Seems like very little, but we're going to trust the process. Now this setup took me longer to do than I would like to admit, but it's been 5 minutes. And our nuts are ready to come out. It smells delicious. Doesn't look very toasted, but I don't want to burn it either. I'm going to turn this on medium-low heat. It says not to stir it at all. So again, we're going to trust the process. Once it is starting to melt a little bit is when I'm going to stick my candy thermometer in here so that we can keep track of the temperature. We have that ready right over here. Okay, now while we've got this going, I'm going to show you guys over here. We're going to start making the fish, I think. So I have to raise the oven temperature to 500. I'm going to move this aside. Now, since the last time you guys saw me make this fish, I've gotten myself a bigger tray so that we can fit more peppers on here and nicely fit the side of salmon without having to like shrink it a little bit, like push it together. I used to have to like bring the ends in a little bit so that it should fit, versus this is a slightly bigger cookie sheet and it fits beautifully all the time. Now, I used to be a person that loved trying new recipes, which I still do. But I used to make so many different types of fish recipes. I constantly do like different recipes. Every week a different one. Until I started hosting my meals a lot. I host a lot of people for meals usually. And people love this fish and they request it again and again and again. And this, no matter how many people I have at the table, this will get demolished. Like, everybody loves this. And they requested, like I said, so it's something that I've been making probably since I started hosting consistently. And it's hard to deviate because every time I try something new, people are like, oh, why didn't you make the one with the peppers? They love it. So it's become a classic and I'm my go-to every single week almost. Okay, I washed my hands. Now we're going to sprinkle some garlic salt over the top of the entire fish. I'm going to add more salt as well. And we're going to grind some black pepper on top. So what I like to do for the sauce is that I take a bowl jar because it has the markings. So it makes it easy to measure and easy to combine. I don't have to get anything else dirty. So we're going to start off with 1/2 cup of sesame oil. Oh, I don't think I bought more. Let me check my pantry. Actually, I'm not going to check my pantry. This is why we organized. the other day. I'm going to check my list to see if I have. I don't. So what are we going to use instead? We're going to add in, I think I'll do the avocado oil because olive oil is going to take over the flavor too much. It has a very strong flavor, especially the olive oils that I have. This, I don't like the sound of it, so I'm going to make it a little bit lower. And I think we could stick in the thermometer already. I'm going to turn it on. Clip it on, and then we're going to make sure that the end of it is not, of the probe is not resting on the bottom of the pan. And I just rubbed my finger under my sink. You can see it's bleeding. I hate dry hands. Okay. So now I just have to keep track of what temperature do we need to reach. 338. So let me fill in the rest of this, half a cup. We're going to add a half a cup of soy sauce. That's it for that. I'm going to give it a shake. And now we're going to sprinkle about 3/4 of this over the fish. And I like to quote-unquote seal it while it's in the oven. So I press it down on the wet mixture. We're going to stick it in the 500-degree oven for 12 minutes. While that's going, I'm going to get the cutting board out. We're going to do a red, yellow, and orange pepper. And we're going to do 3 jalapenos for this, but while we're cutting peppers, we're also going to prepare our jalapeno garlic confit. And this is the dish that we're going to put in the peppers for the jalapeno garlic confit. So we're going to start off by cutting the tops and the bottoms and removing stickers. And then we're going to rinse these peppers. Okay, so we're going to cut these peppers slightly differently for each of the recipes. I'm going to choose the biggest jalapenos to go with the fish so that they're about the same length as these regular bell peppers. And we're just going to cut strips. This will be for the fish, like I said. For the jalapeno garlic confit, we're going to cut them into rings. If you want, you can just mix all the peppers together and randomly throw them around the fish. I like to do them by color because I think for presentation purposes it looks really nice when you have them, the color separated. And if you don't know, the orange peppers, when they cook, they can sometimes look like yellow. So I usually end up putting the orange and the yellow on separate ends of the board. Because if the orange does end up looking yellow, it still looks nice. So the jalapeno, I'm doing the same thing. I'm cutting it into strips. It's a little bit hard when you're working with such a small pepper, but the more times you do it, the better you'll get at it. So that's it for the fish. So now we're going to start with a jalapeno garlic confit. I'm going to cut these into rings. I tried doing this on a mandolin one week, and A, it made more dishes, and B, I didn't feel like it made such a big difference. So I decided that it's not a good option. I thought that it will make it easier to cut consistently even slices. But because peppers are usually not straight, then it just wasn't easier, at least for me. I so desperately want to mix it because I have so much sugar there that didn't mix in. I'm going to move this to the side. I'm going to get out my cooling rack already for the fish. But meanwhile, I'm going to get some garlic and spices in here. For spices, I'm going to start with cumin. And I don't measure this, I just pour because it's always different with the peppers. And what I mean by that is that I always have a different amount of peppers. Smoked paprika. And now some salt and pepper. I feel like my heat isn't even, so I'm going to move this a little bit. We're going to top this with some avocado oil, and we're going to make sure that all of it is submerged. Now this you can adjust to whatever vegetables you want and whatever spices you want so that you get your own combination. Now this is what I like to do, give it a little mix and then make sure that everything is submerged. And this I always tell my husband that I feel like it's multiple salads in one, because some people like the peppers, some people like the garlic, some people like the oil, some people like the spices that settles on the bottom, and some people like a combination of one or two, or some people like all of it. So it's like multiple salads in one. Our fish is ready. We're going to get it out of the oven. I'm going to lower the oven temperature back to 350. And now for presentation purposes, I like to cut the parchment paper to be just under the fish. So the reason why I do this is because I put it out on this tray for the meals. I place it on the table and everybody can serve themselves however much they want. And I don't like the look of the burnt parchment paper on the table. Now we're going to cover the fish with some sesame seeds. Not just a sprinkle of sesame seeds, you want a lot. You want to barely able to see the fish, if at all. Now we're going to get our peppers on here. So we have our remaining quarter dressing. I'm going to shake it again to combine again. And then we're going to pour this over the peppers. Now, so both the fish and the jalapeno garlic confit are going to go in a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. So we're going to start from the one that makes the least sticky mess in the bowl to the one that gets the dirtiest and hardest to clean. So we're going to start off with tomato dip. So we're starting off with tomatoes. We're doing 2 today. And they were kind of big, so I cut them into 8 pieces each. And I usually do 1 garlic per tomato, but because they're kind of big, I think I'll do probably like 4 garlics. Count each tomato as 2. And we're going to add some salt and pepper. We're going to blend this up. Once I don't see any big chunks anymore and it looks like it's all liquid, I'm going to start drizzling in some olive oil. And we're going to let it blend until we see a change of color. And you can let it go for like 4 or 5 minutes even. The longer you do it, the better it'll be. Okay, so we're going to rinse everything right away. And we're going to reuse it right away. So there's no need to clean it. So I like to scrape down the sides so we can get all the yumminess into our jar here that we prepared. Okay, this has been rinsed clean. We can put it back. I'm going to close this up and it can go in the fridge. Now, I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. It's just I'm not stressing about it. I just brought you into the kitchen and I'm bringing you along for the process. Again, this is the main reason why I brought you guys in here. The other stuff is a bonus. Next thing we're going to do is olive dip. I have a 7-ounce jar of olives that I'm going to drain. So all I do is I take off the cover and make like a little gap like that. And I hold it over the sink and I let the juice spill into the sink. This eliminates having to get another dish dirty. I have some mayonnaise in my fridge, but I don't have enough. So we're going to make some mayo as well. I might need another oil. I'm going to start off with 1.5 cups of oil. The fish smells delicious. And I smell the jalapeno garlic as well. Now in here we're going to add 1 egg plus an egg yolk. Now we're going to add 2.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now the recipe that I follow doesn't call for this, but I add about a teaspoon of mustard. Now we're going to do 1 teaspoon of kosher salt and 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Now if you didn't watch my organizing video, I love the taste of freshly ground black pepper, but whenever a recipe calls for a specific measurement, from this I don't know how much I get. So what I do is whenever I get low on here, I'll grind the peppercorn into this container here, and I use this for measured quantities and this for sprinkling or adding to taste and these type of things. Now all we're going to do is stick the hand blender in, turn it on and move up and down until we like the consistency of it. That's it. We got mayonnaise. I'm going to clean off the blender. I'm going to rinse it off in the sink. And then we can measure out 1 cup and add it to the olives to make the olive dip. I'm going to add it to the blender. And I'm going to rinse out this measuring cup, even though it's disposable, so that I can continue using it today. That's it. We're going to blend it up now. Okay, this doesn't take much time to blend up. You can blend this for longer if you want the olives to be smoother. I like them a bit chunky. Okay, this is rinsed and clean. We can cover this and put it away. I used to make so many mayonnaise dip salads, and I'm so happy that this is the only one that I'm making nowadays with mayo. I have to make a cover for this. A label and cover it. Okay, the next thing we'll be making is tahini. You might call it tahini. Either one is correct. And even though this one I find is harder to clean, I like to make this before the hummus because this tahini paste is also going to go into that. So even if it's not perfectly clean, I feel that that's okay, because I'd rather have some of this end up in the hummus instead of some of the hummus, which has ingredients that wouldn't go into this recipe, in here. We're going to squeeze 1 lemon in here. I should know this recipe by heart already, but I keep forgetting. So let me pull out my recipe book. It's from this recipe recipe book, and I believe I have 2 recipes for the tahini, but I make the one that is with the chicken shawarma, and I double the recipe. So we need 2 cloves of garlic. Now we need 4 tablespoons of oil. 4 tablespoons is equivalent to a 1/4 cup, so I'm going to measure it in here. And by the way, guys, this is only at 244 so far, so we're getting a lot done in this time. Now we do salt and pepper, and we're going to start mixing. And while it's mixing, we're going to add in some water as well. I see that a lot of it is stuck on the side, so we're going to scrape it down and blend it again. Now after this, I sometimes don't even rinse it, because like I said, the hummus uses the same ingredients. And this, you'll see as I pour it into the jar that it's very liquidy still. But that's why I like making it the day before, because as it's sitting in the fridge, it'll stiffen up a little bit and it won't be as runny. So like tomorrow night when I go to serve this, I won't be able to just pour it out of the jar like I'm doing now. It won't run like it's doing now. I'll have to spoon it. I will have to get it out with a spoon. For this, and now we'll get going with our hummus. Okay, so for the hummus, we're going to start off with a can of chickpeas and a can of cannellini beans, rinsed and drained. Cannellini beans is essentially just a white kidney bean. And this is what it looks like. It looks like a kidney bean, a white kidney bean. Now for this one, I should also know the recipe by heart because I've been making it for years. But for some reason I don't. Actually, I know why, because I didn't make it in a long time. Started making it again recently. I'm going to add 3 cloves of garlic. Whenever I open up a new jar of tahini paste, I like to mix it because it settles. You can see it has all the oil on the top. Can you see? And then on the bottom there's usually like a thick paste. So I like to combine it all. And I make sure to bring up everything that's on the bottom and mix it all in. And then we're going to measure out a 1/2 cup of this and add it to the food processor. Next up is 2 lemons juiced. Now we're going to add 1½ tablespoons of soy sauce. We're going to do 1½ teaspoons of sea salt, 1½ teaspoons of cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and then 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper. Now we're going to turn this up and blend it. As it's blending, we're going to pour in a 1/3 cup of olive oil and a 1/4 cup of water. Okay, this also doesn't need too much time to get blended up. And then I like to put it into this dish that I bought recently as well. And then, okay, we're done with the food processor for today. So we're going to give it a good rinse so that it is easier to wash when I get to the dishes. So if you're not going to wash it right away, then this will be hard to wash later. It will become crusty and dry. This is not getting much hotter. Why is that? Now sometimes the hummus doesn't fit all of it in here. What I do then is that I put the remainder of it in a separate container and I enjoy it during the week. And I have a cover for this so it stays fresh in the fridge until we need it. This temperature is going down instead of up. And I don't see the bubbles. I'm not happy. Anyways, this is done. This is done. Sorry, this is not done. This is done. And the fish is going to be done now. Let me get the cooling rack back out. And this was actually perfect timing. Oh, the temperature is going down. It's not going up anymore. Now, in the time that it took to bake this fish, we managed to make all of the dips and salads. But this is still, I don't know. I really don't know. I hope it's going to work out. And I didn't do any stretch and folds in this time. I got stuck with the other stuff. Some of this is starting to look really brown. The caramel that's coming up and it's smelling. Hope I'm not burning it. Yeah, you can see it coming up here, you see? It's really dark, but then I have some sugar here that didn't even melt yet. I'm so confused about this. I really hope it's not burnt. I'm not doing this over again. And I just hope that I didn't waste 3 cups of sugar. Okay, now that things are finally happening. Ooh, I think I passed the temperature. 338, yeah, okay. We passed the temperature already. I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna get the nuts in here. We're gonna mix this in. And then we're gonna pour it onto the sheet and let it cool. Now be careful not to touch this mixture with your hand because this is hot sugar. It's starting to cool already. It's getting harder to spread. So we're going to cool this good. And I'm going to rinse this quickly before it hardens. Okay, now this I had dunked into a jar with water in my sink. And after just sitting for a couple minutes, I got it clean. So if you clean this right away, it'll be good. Now, if you're wondering how long this took me to make, my camera is telling me that I'm recording for 93 minutes now. Possibly I could have done this faster if my flame would have been higher the entire time, because at the end I made it higher because I just couldn't. I was like, either I failed at it or it just like taking way too long. So I might as well just turn up the heat. What's it called? I think I should put a cooling rack because that's really hot actually. We're gonna let that cool and then I'll bring you guys back and show you how we finish this off. So it's been quite a little while now and our caramel is hardened. So now the recipe says to break this up into pieces and blend it up in the food processor. I thought I won't have to wash it, but I did have to wash it today. Now, if I were to make this again, I think I can use my bigger cookie sheet, the one that I used for the fish. I had gotten 2 of them to get it a little bit thinner, and that would help it cool off faster as well. So it is mostly crumbs, but you can see a little bit of the crystals of the caramel right there. Okay, so we're going to set this aside for now. I'm going to start working on the ice cream. For the ice cream, we're going to need the mixer. So I'm going to get that out. We're going to need our whisk attachment. I'm going to get out my splash guard. We're going to start off with 18 ounces of whip. And we're going to beat this. And then we're going to slowly add in the rest of the ingredients, which will be 4 egg yolks, a half a cup of vanilla soy milk. I couldn't find vanilla soy milk in my store, so I bought regular, and I'll add some vanilla as well, with 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I guess I'll add a little bit more vanilla extract than the recipe calls for. And now we're going to set aside some of our brittle that we made. This we'll use to top it when we serve the ice cream. So I'm going to get a container out. This will be for serving. The rest of this can be added in here to combine. Oh, my big spatula is dirty. I'm gonna clean off the beaters and I'm gonna mix it a little bit so that any crumbs that were on the edges or anything that's sticking to the bottom should be incorporated into this ice cream. And all we're gonna do is transfer this over to something that we can freeze this in. The recipe says to do it on a 9x13 and then top it with the ones that we set aside. But I want to do that when I serve it because I believe I'm going to serve it with scoops of ice cream instead of slices. I'm going to try to get it to fit in this container here. I don't know if that'll be possible. If it doesn't all fit, we're going to get a second container. Okay, so here we go. We're going to let this freeze, and once this is frozen, I will plate some up so you guys can see the final product. So I think that'll be it. So thank you guys for joining me in making some Shabbos treats. We made this dessert that I'm going to plate up soon. And you didn't get to see me make the sourdough, but we've been working on the sourdough as well. You saw me making all my dips and salads and the fish. So thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed watching this, consider hitting the subscribe button so you can see more things as I make them. We have lots of more projects coming. We started on our 2025 garden already, so if you want to see that process, you can keep up like that. And if you want to see more videos, I'll pop some on the screen for you right now so that you can watch between now and my next upload. I hope to see you in the next one.